The book of Revelation is one of the most misunderstood texts ever written. Many read it as a code about fear, destruction, and the end of the world. But Revelation was not written to terrify humanity. It was written to awaken it. It is a message revealed, not a mystery hidden. A spiritual unveiling meant to strengthen faith during persecution, expose the forces behind history, and remind humanity that chaos is not the final word. This book does not announce defeat. It announces judgment, truth, and ultimate restoration. The book of Revelation begins not with destruction, but with revelation itself. The very first word of the text comes from the Greek apocalypsis, which means unveiling, disclosure, something hidden being revealed. This is not a book meant to confuse but to expose. It was written by John while he was exiled on the island of Patmos, not because he committed a crime, but because he refused to stop testifying about Jesus Christ. Revelation is born out of persecution, pressure, and spiritual resistance. At the time, the early Christian communities were living under the shadow of the Roman Empire. Rome demanded loyalty, worship, and obedience. To confess Jesus as Lord was seen as rebellion against Caesar. Revelation speaks directly into this tension. It pulls back the curtain and reveals what is truly happening behind political power, military force, and imperial propaganda. What looks like human authority is often driven by spiritual forces that operate unseen. John's vision begins with Christ, not chaos. Jesus appears not as a suffering servant, but as a glorified judge. Eyes like fire, voice like rushing waters, feet like burnished bronze. This image is intentional. Revelation reminds believers that the same Christ who was crucified is also sovereign. History is not drifting, it is governed, and Christ stands at the center of it. The letters to the 7 churches are not random messages. They represent real communities facing real struggles: fear, compromise, persecution, comfort, spiritual laziness. Each church is praised, corrected, warned, or encouraged. Revelation makes it clear that faith is not only about belief, but endurance. Truth must be lived, not merely confessed. One of the most important themes introduced early is spiritual sight. Revelation constantly contrasts what people see on the surface with what is actually happening. A beast may look powerful, but its authority is borrowed. An empire may look eternal, but it is already decaying. The Lamb may appear slain, but he is standing. This reversal of perception runs through the entire book. Revelation does not deny suffering, it explains it. It tells believers that hardship is not proof of abandonment, but often evidence of faithfulness. The message is not escape, but perseverance. Those who overcome are not those who avoid trials, but those who remain faithful within them. From the beginning, Revelation frames reality as a spiritual battleground. Angels, symbols, numbers, seals, and visions are not fantasy elements. They are symbolic language communicating spiritual truth. This book speaks in images because spiritual realities cannot always be explained with ordinary words. It demands discernment, not speculation. Above all, Revelation establishes one unshakable truth: God is in control, even when history looks out of control. The chaos of the world does not mean the absence of divine authority. It means the story is still unfolding. As Revelation progresses, the imagery intensifies. Seals are opened, trumpets are blown, and judgments are released. Many readers focus on these sections with fear, assuming they describe random destruction or divine cruelty. But Revelation is not about God losing patience. It is about God revealing truth. Each judgment exposes corruption, injustice, and false security. The seals represent stages of human history marked by conquest, war, scarcity, and death. These are not new phenomena. Revelation shows that what humanity experiences repeatedly is the result of moral collapse, unchecked power, and spiritual blindness. The book does not blame God for these conditions. It reveals their roots. When the martyrs cry out for justice, they are not asking for revenge. They are asking for truth to be acknowledged. Revelation affirms that suffering is seen, remembered, and counted. Silence in heaven is not indifference, it is anticipation. Judgment is not rushed because mercy is still being extended. The beast figures introduced later are symbolic representations of systems, not just individuals. They embody political power, economic control, and ideological domination that demand loyalty over conscience. Revelation warns that evil rarely appears openly as evil. It presents itself as order, peace, and prosperity, while slowly eroding truth and freedom. One of the most misunderstood symbols is the mark of the beast. Revelation does not describe a simple physical mark, but allegiance. It represents submission of thought, values, and identity. To receive the mark is to participate willingly in a system that rejects divine authority. Revelation contrasts this with those who are sealed by God, not visibly but spiritually. Numbers in Revelation are symbolic, not mathematical codes. 7 represents completeness. 12 reflects divine order. 10 signifies power. These numbers shape the narrative rhythm, reinforcing that events unfold according to divine structure, not chaos. Throughout these visions, worship remains central. Heaven responds to unfolding events with praise, not panic. This is deliberate. Revelation teaches that worship is resistance. When believers worship, they declare that power does not belong to empires, weapons, or economies, but to God alone. The Lamb stands as the moral center of the book. Unlike the beasts, the Lamb conquers not through violence, but through sacrifice and truth. This challenges human ideas of victory. Revelation insists that domination is not strength, and coercion is not authority. True power flows from righteousness. Rather than predicting dates or timelines, Revelation confronts every generation with the same question: where does your loyalty lie? The book was relevant in the first century, and it remains relevant now because the forces it exposes are timeless. Revelation is not obsessed with the end of the world. It is obsessed with the exposure of lies. And lies lose power when they are seen clearly. As the visions continue, Revelation shifts the focus from judgment on the world to conflict in the spiritual realm. The imagery becomes cosmic. A woman clothed with the sun, a dragon seeking to devour her child, war breaking out in heaven. These scenes are not meant to be read as mythology, but as symbolic representations of a deeper reality. History is shaped by an ongoing spiritual struggle. The dragon is identified clearly as Satan, the ancient adversary, the accuser. Revelation reveals that evil does not originate in human politics alone. It has a spiritual origin that influences systems, leaders, and cultures. Yet the text is careful to show that this power is limited. The dragon is not equal to God. He is defeated, cast down, and restrained. His influence is real but temporary. One of Revelation's most important messages is that deception is the primary weapon of evil. The dragon does not conquer by force alone, but by distortion of truth. False narratives, corrupted values, and misplaced loyalties become tools of control. Revelation exposes how fear is manufactured, how obedience is demanded, and how conscience is slowly silenced. The rise of oppressive systems is not sudden. Revelation shows that compromise happens gradually. Small concessions lead to larger ones. Comfort replaces conviction. Survival replaces faithfulness. This is why the book repeatedly calls for endurance. The danger is not only persecution, it is assimilation. Revelation emphasizes testimony. Those who overcome do so by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. Truth spoken openly becomes an act of resistance. Silence, on the other hand, allows deception to grow. Revelation challenges believers not only to believe internally, but to witness publicly, even when it comes at a cost. Another recurring theme is counterfeit authority. The beasts mimic divine power. They imitate miracles, demand worship, and enforce loyalty. Revelation warns that evil often disguises itself as legitimacy. When authority demands absolute allegiance, it has crossed a spiritual boundary. Despite the intensity of these visions, Revelation does not descend into despair. Even as darkness increases, the text insists that outcomes are already determined. Evil escalates not because it is winning, but because its time is limited. Desperation, not dominance, drives its actions. The heavenly perspective remains constant. While chaos unfolds on earth, heaven remains ordered. Thrones are occupied. Worship continues. This contrast reinforces a central truth. Earthly instability does not reflect heavenly uncertainty. God is not reacting to events. Events unfold within his sovereignty. Revelation also confronts the illusion of neutrality. There is no passive position in this narrative. Every individual, every community, and every generation must choose alignment. The book rejects the idea that one can remain uninvolved. Silence becomes a form of consent. At its core, Revelation is about allegiance. It asks where identity is anchored, where trust is placed, and what voice is obeyed. The battle is not only external, it is internal. Minds, values, and hearts become the true battlefield. By exposing these dynamics, Revelation does not aim to create fear, it aims to create clarity. Awareness becomes protection, discernment becomes survival, and faithfulness becomes victory. As Revelation moves forward, attention turns toward the collapse of corrupt power. The imagery of Babylon emerges as a symbol of moral decay, economic exploitation, and spiritual arrogance. Babylon is not presented as a single city, but as a system built on excess, control, and illusion. It represents a world that thrives on consumption while disguising injustice as prosperity. Revelation exposes how wealth becomes a tool of domination. Trade, luxury, and comfort are not condemned by themselves, but when they replace conscience, they become instruments of bondage. Babylon seduces through convenience. It promises security, status, and pleasure, while quietly demanding loyalty and silence. The fall of Babylon is sudden, because systems built on deception cannot sustain themselves forever. The lament of merchants and rulers reveals the true heart of the system. They do not mourn injustice or suffering, they mourn loss of profit. Revelation unmasks the priorities of a world that values gain over human life. This collapse is not tragic, it is necessary. It clears space for truth to surface. In contrast, heaven rejoices. This reaction often troubles readers, but Revelation makes a clear distinction between suffering and accountability. Justice is not cruelty, it is restoration of moral order. Evil is not destroyed out of anger, but because it cannot coexist with truth. The return of Christ is portrayed not as symbolic hope, but as decisive intervention. He appears not as a victim, but as a righteous judge. His authority does not come from force, but from faithfulness. He wears many crowns, not stolen but rightful. His word becomes the instrument of judgment, reinforcing that truth itself dismantles deception. Revelation presents the final conflict as brief and decisive. Evil gathers strength, but it does not triumph. There is no prolonged struggle. The imbalance of power is absolute. What once seemed unstoppable is undone with clarity and finality. This moment reinforces that evil never had ultimate authority. It only operated under allowance. The imagery of resurrection and judgment emphasizes accountability. Every action, hidden or public, is brought into the light. Revelation does not portray judgment as arbitrary. It is precise. It reflects choices made freely. No one is condemned unknowingly. The record is transparent. The defeat of death is one of Revelation's most profound declarations. Death, which humanity treats as final, is revealed as temporary. It is not an ending, but a threshold. Revelation reframes existence itself, reminding readers that life is not limited to the physical timeline. Throughout these scenes, Revelation maintains its consistent message. God does not abandon creation. He confronts corruption in order to heal it. Destruction is not the goal, renewal is. Judgment removes what poisons life so that life can flourish again. The book challenges shallow spirituality. It refuses to separate belief from behavior. Faith is not proven by words, but by allegiance under pressure. Revelation honors those who remained faithful, not because they were perfect, but because they endured. This section of Revelation forces readers to reconsider success, power, and legacy. What the world celebrates is often temporary. What heaven honors is faithfulness. The collapse of Babylon marks the end of illusion and the beginning of clarity. What remains after everything false falls is truth, and truth stands unshaken. As Revelation reaches its final movement, the tone shifts from confrontation to restoration. After judgment, collapse, and exposure, the narrative does not end in ruin, but renewal. The vision of a new heaven and a new earth is not presented as an escape from reality, but as its fulfillment. What was broken is not discarded, it is transformed. The descent of the New Jerusalem is central to this vision. Unlike human empires that rise through domination, this city comes down from God. It is not built by conquest, wealth, or force. Its foundation is righteousness, its structure is truth, and its atmosphere is presence. Revelation emphasizes that God does not abandon creation to start over elsewhere. He dwells with humanity. The absence of a physical temple is intentional. God's presence no longer requires mediation. There is no barrier, no veil, no separation. Revelation completes the story that began in Genesis. What was lost through disobedience is restored through faithfulness. Humanity's original purpose, communion with God, is fulfilled. Suffering is addressed directly. Tears are wiped away. Death is declared defeated. Pain, mourning, and fear are described as former things, not because they were insignificant, but because they no longer define existence. Revelation does not minimize suffering, it promises its end. The emphasis on light is striking. There is no need for sun or lamp, because God's presence illuminates everything. Darkness, both physical and moral, has no place. Nothing hidden remains hidden. Transparency becomes the natural state of existence. Revelation ends with an invitation, not a threat. Come is the final word extended to humanity. Salvation is not imposed, it is offered. The book closes not with fear, but with hope, grounded in truth. Time is framed not as an enemy, but as a window for response.